Alrighty, this is a face map for face reading. I'm just going to describe it out, the features on the face, physiologically what they represent, and psychologically what they represent as well. So we'll start with the ears. Your ears physiologically represent your kidneys and longevity, and psychologically they represent your risk-taking ability. So if you have smaller ears, you're adverse to risk. Larger ears, you're okay with risk. Your hairline is kidney and bladder, is the physiological representation. Psychologically, it's parental stress during adolescence. So this is your bladder line is like here. And kidneys in your ears again. Another place for kidneys, excuse me, is below your eyes here where you get dark circles. So your forehead is next. Physiologically, this is your large and small intestine. And psychologically, it is your inherited thinking. Multiple people point out these are Einstein lines. So if you had these without furrowing your brow, and if they're connected, that means you've learned your lessons. You've repeated lessons and you've learned them. You don't need to keep going through that lesson. And also, if you look at it physiologically, because this is large and small intestines, if you have a dip here, it's like you're pooping uphill, right? This is your transverse colon in your abdomen, so right below your diaphragm. And if it's dipped there, then you have to work hard to get up and over and down to excrete it, right? Temples represent your spleen, physiologically, and psychologically it's your ability to be happy. So Dr. Todd Frisch talks about this, how during COVID everybody had indented spleens, or like 80% of his practice had indented spleens. So there's that. Brow bone. So I have a bit of a brow bone. Turn sideways. I call it the Neanderthal ridge, quite honestly. Your brow bone is your liver gallbladder, and psychologically it represents control. And again, as we've talked in other videos, this is liver, gallbladders here. Yeah. Oh, large intestines are also down here. I forgot to add in. Anyways. Next, eyebrows. Eyebrows physiologically represent liver, gallbladder, constitution, or state of health. So as I've indicated before, the outer thirds is thinner, formy, and represents Hertog syndrome in the medical field, which indicates low thyroid function. And psychologically, or represented in your face, it's a lack of sibling support. Your eyebrows also determine a lot about your personality. So if they're rounded like mine, you tend to think of the people around you before yourself, which actually fits with my tree face because I think of others and take care of others and keep people under my branches before I take care of myself. They can be like kind of angled upwards here. Those people like drama and action, and they're a little more scrupulous. So no good or bad, it's just the way it is. Eyebrows psychologically represent passion, temper, pride, and confidence, right? Between the eyebrows, so liver, gallbladder here. Let me double check I'm not missing any liver. No. Okay, liver, gallbladder. The ability to healthfully express anger and assert yourself. So men typically don't have problem exerting their anger, not necessarily in a physical way or anything, but they can. I always think of it as women will gossip behind each other's back but be polite to each other's face, whereas men, if they like each other, and they have a disagreement and they have a fight and they're buddies again, they can let it out and move on. That's why women with their gallbladder here tend to lose their gallbladder more than men. Like it's 8 out of 10 women have their gallbladder removed, and this is resentments and withheld anger in there as well. So between the eyebrows, we got liver, gallbladder, and it's your ability to assert yourself or express your anger. And women tend to have more problems asserting themselves. Eyes are also liver, gallbladder, and it's your receptivity. Obviously, we see with our eyes, so what you perceive, receive. Your inner canthus is pancreas. It's about worry. So inner canthus is here, the corner of your eye. Most of us have some dark circles in there. I've heard if it's luminous there, then you have psychic abilities, which is cool. Which we all have psychic abilities, just gotta define them. Your worry, yeah, so typically you'll see dark circles in there. Upper eyelid, again, is anger suppression, resentment here. This is your gallbladder. Under your eye here is represented by kidneys, adrenals, hypo, and hypertension. You can't distinguish the two unless you have tests done. It's unshed tears, unresolved feelings. Okay, so, oh, I forgot to say that the face is divided in two. This is my right side. Your right side is your outer persona and your mother's influence. Your left side is your inner persona and your father's influence. Professional side, personal side. So if you have more definition of a puffiness on one side than the other, with anything in your face, puffiness, depletion, excessiveness, it's marked stronger on that side. So we'll take this actually. I've got a line deeper here, which is liver, and it's an inherited line for alcoholism on my mother's side. Okay. Cheekbones represent your lungs and authority. If you have flat cheekbones, kind of like me, then you resist authority. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You just make your own way in life. I prefer my independence, and I can't work for anybody else but myself. So if you can have high cheekbones, which means you have like, what is the high standards? You have high standards. Anything high on the face is high standards, high expectations. Your cheeks themselves is represented physiologically by the lungs, stress compromising the immune system. And if they're really sunken in, if you see on my one page, I think it's my Instagram page, you'll see a picture of Nikola Tesla. And when he's younger, he's got a very triangular face, but his face is still full and healthy. But when he's old, like you can see his cheekbones, he's practically a living skeleton, which is unfortunate. And the emotions represented by sunken cheeks is despair and grief. So those people are typically diagnosed with depression. They're not depressed, they are experiencing despair. Your nose represents lung and stomach. Your stomach is your nose bridge here. I can't read what I wrote down. Psychologically, your nose represents your ego, your drive, and capacity for power. So if you've got a honker of a nose, like Barbra Streisand has a huge nose. I can't think of anybody else. Adrian Brody. Whoa, huge nose, but it suits his face. You know, I like his face. Lots of people get their nose straightened out to make it look more aesthetically pleasing. You're really killing your ego, drive, and capacity for power. And if you want to talk about some Epstein files right now and how MJ is involved, as you see him progress through his life, he had a nice, full African-American big nose, you know, and as before he died, he had a very thin, narrow nose, very narrow nostrils, and it was pointed up a lot. It was as if you're looking at the skeleton of the nose, right? Just the exposed nostrils, what you would see there. It was dramatically shorter as well. So his drive and capacity for power was extremely diminished as he neared the end of his life. Nose tip is heart, and it's psychologically represented how your feelings around love. An obvious indicator most people notice on people's faces when you have a bulbous red nose. Those are typically alcoholics and they have heart issues. Nostrils represents your lungs, right? Makes sense. How energy or money is spent. So if you have a narrow bridge but big nostrils like Julia Roberts, you have the capacity to bring in money, but you spend too much. I wonder if that's why I picked my nose so much. I'm trying to get more abundance. Yeah, so my nose, like, they aren't too big, but I could go for more abundance. Falling lines, these lines here, are also represented by the lungs, and psychologically they represent awareness of creative and spiritual purpose in life. So when I had a phone call with Dr. Todd Frisch, who I learned this from, he said my lines aren't quite defined enough, and honestly, if you were to look at everything in my life, it's probably because the best part of my life isn't starting until now, until I'm 34 and onwards is really where my spiritual development and purpose is going to take place. And I think I'm really stepping into a new career that's going to define that fuller for me, and I'll get deeper lines as I go. Your philtrum, these, you see these shadows of lines on either side of my nostrils here above my Cupid's bow, we'll talk about that, is represented by kidney and reproductive health for women. Psychologically, it represents generosity, feeling about home and safety and sexuality. I've talked before how women can have a horizontal line across their philtrum, which will indicate fertility issues and or miscarriages. Lips. Actually, it's funny, I put a little bit of lipstick on just for shits and giggles. Your stomach is your top lip, bottom lip is your small intestine, and it's your ability to express your emotions. So if you have thin, tight, locked lips, you're unable to express your emotions for whatever reason, or you don't want to, or you're just one of those stern people in a position where you can't. When you have thicker, fuller lips, you're able to express yourself a little better. Your chin is your reproductive organs and hormones. Psychologically, it represents your character, will, tenacity, ability to make your own path in life, or be able to take one on the chin. If you have a really strong chin, that's can be a good characteristic to have. And your jaw represents your kidney, liver, and hormones. It's also your determination and deep-rooted beliefs. So if you have, like if you saw my video about the Scotsman, he had a very like 1950s G.I. Joe, big chin, strong square jawline. If you have strong jaws here, when you latch into something, you're not going to let go. It's like a pit bull grabbing that toy and you trying to yank it out. It's impossible. You know, once you've bitten into something, you're determined with it. So that's the face map. I don't think I missed anything. We discussed how this is the bladder. Excuse me. Ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, your small intestines in the middle here. Your liver is in between your eyebrows. Gallbladder, kidneys, pancreas is here. So somebody has a line in their ridge here. They could be hypoglycemic. This is your stomach, your heart, your bronchi here. You have adrenal lines here, your large intestine here. Your bronchi lines are just above your falling lines, and then your falling lines here. Your lungs, obviously, stomach, small intestine, sex hormones, and your kidneys. So that's the face, that's the map of the face, right? Those are the features, physiological and psychological associations with them. And again, the face is divided in two. So the right side is your right side is your mother's side. And it's how you express yourself out in public, how people see you, how you function out in public. And then your left side is your father's side, your personal side, and more like your emotional, you see the emotions a little more clearly than on the right side. The right side, we tend to project an image of more positivity than our left side. So you notice the difference in the face left to right. So that's the face map. Those are the emotions and the health aspects associated with it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you noticed anything interesting about yourself, pop it down below.